Speaker, in accordance with Article 180 of the 1992 Constitution and in line of Standing Order 145 of this Honorable House, on the authority of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I beg to move that this Honorable House approves by resolution the withdrawal of the sum of 27,434,180,520 Ghana cedis from the Consolidated Fund for the purpose of meeting expenditure necessary to carry on the services of government in respect of the period expiring 3 months of the financial year or on the coming into operation of the Appropriation Act in respect of 2021 financial year. Mr. Speaker, this is also in line of Section 23 of the Public Financial Management Act PFM 2016 Act 921. I humbly request the Hansard Department to capture the full document. Mr. Speaker, permit me to extend the gratitude of His Excellency the President for the support and cooperation received from this august House during his first term of office. Together with the abundant and abiding grace of God, this session of Parliament has been most vital in transforming the economy and providing for a better future for our fellow Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, when I had the privilege and blessing to stand before you, I invoked the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fishes to illustrate the predicament we find ourselves in. In using that miracle, Mr. Speaker, I was declaring our faith and hope in a God who can do much with little and in fact do exceedingly above all we can ask or think, and submitting that we need not fear because the battle is the Lord's. Mr. Speaker, as it is evident to all, not only have we turned the economy around through hard work and innovative policies, but we also have the courage to implement the 100 billion Ghana Cares of our Tampa program. The diligent and disciplined pursuit of the innovative policies have restored macroeconomic stability, promoted inclusive growth, and transformed lives of millions of Ghanaians. Today, Mr. Speaker, some 1.2 million Ghanaians are in senior high school. Almost 3 million of our children are in the school feeding program. We are exporting food through the Planting for Food and Jobs program, and 1D1F is generating jobs all around the country. How far indeed the Lord has brought us. This is the competence we promised Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, it is trite knowledge that data speak for itself. Permit me to use the data to separate facts from opinions, even if these opinions emanate from persons, or may I say fathers who should know better. The success of our focused macroeconomic stabilization and fiscal consolidation program is evidenced by 1, growing the economy at an average rate of 7% between 2017 and 2019, as compared to 2.8% between 2014 and 2016. Reducing inflation from 15.4% at end December 2016 to 7.9% by the end December 2019, the lowest since the Fourth Republic in 1992. Maintaining an average fiscal balance below a 5% of GDP threshold between 2017 and 2019, as compared to an average of 6.3% of GDP in 2014 and 2016. Improving gross international reserves to reach $8.6 billion US, or about 4 months of import cover by February 2020, as compared to 3.5 months of import cover in 2016. Successfully exiting the IMF ECF program in April 2019, which had been completely derailed by 2016. Mr. Speaker, leadership of any nation succeeds or fails on the strength or weakness of how the economy is managed. A leader who cannot run the economy is a leader who can never be trusted to deliver. Leadership is about the economy and the character of the leader. It is about knowing how to grasp the problems, the expertise to find solutions, the courage to take bold decisions, the conviction to stay the course, the competence to get it fixed, the compassion to cushion the impact on our people, and the vision to create new and transforming opportunities for the people out of the situation. I recall how in 2014, according to a Bloomberg annual table, the cedi was the worst performing currency in the entire world, only managing to perform better than the war-torn Ukraine's Hryvnia currency. Indeed, in dollar terms, Mr. Speaker, former president took an economy that was $64 billion in 2013 and shrank it down to $55 billion in 2016. This means that after 4 years in office, that administration managed to achieve an unenviable record of reducing the Ghanaian economy by nearly $10 billion US. These, Mr. Speaker, are the facts. Mr. Speaker, in 2001, Ghana had no choice but to swallow her pride and to sign up to the HIPC initiative, a legacy led by the outgoing NDC government. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, President J. Kufuor got us to completion point in record time and came out of HIPC. By 2014, barely 2 years in office, President Mahama's homegrown economic policy had failed and Ghana signed up once again onto an IMF program. The Akufo-Addo government took Ghana out of the IMF program in record time. Ironically, those who mismanaged the economy for us to come and fix it are the ones wishing Ghana ill. My message to them is this: there is no turning back. HIPC is behind us. Economic mismanagement is behind us. The economy is stronger today than it was 4 years ago, and will continue to grow stronger and stronger with 4 more years to do more for the people of Ghana with God's help. Mr. Speaker, we must be careful as a nation to reject those who return from the promised land with a bad report to subvert the spirit of our people, and to reject leaders who take us back to Egypt. Mr. Speaker, in our quest to stabilize the economy, we have also lowered the rate of debt accumulation, reprofiled our debt, and implemented a number of structural reforms in a transparent manner for an efficient and effective management of public debt. Mr. Speaker, these significant macro-fiscal gains were achieved in spite of having paid 12 billion Ghana cedis in excess energy capacity charges, which we inherited in 2017, and we have kept the lights on. We have settled substantial part of the 11 billion outstanding arrears bequeathed to us. We abolished 17 unproductive taxes to boost productivity of the private sector. We spent 21.6 billion cedis, Mr. Speaker, to clean up a collapsing financial sector and protected 4.6 million depositors and 81,700 investors. That is the competent government, hard work, and God's hand that has delivered us. Mr. Speaker, for fair-minded observers, the above economic indicators are clear evidence of the sharp and stark difference between a competent Akufo-Addo-led government and others. Mr. Speaker, these gains have not been at the expense of our promise to improve the welfare of fellow Ghanaians. In fact, the issue of welfare is very dear to President Akufo-Addo and his government. For this reason, we invested in excess of 15.7 billion Ghana cedis on key flagship programs. Mr. Speaker, these flagship programs have created a platform for real economic transformation, strengthening human capital through enhancing access to healthcare, education, and skills development, modernizing agriculture and industry, delivering infrastructure across the country, including a revitalized railway subsector and creating jobs. We have remained faithful of our budgets, a Sempa budget in 2017, a Juma budget in 2018, the Impunto budget in 2019, and the precinct in Kosovo and in Kabum budget of COVID-19 2020. Mr. Speaker, we have restored nurses and teachers training allowances and implemented a free SHS program to empower current and future generations and to also ease the financial burden on households. In addition to supporting 100,000 graduates through NAPCOP, we have lowered the net tax burden of the Ghanaian. That is the care we promised Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, achievements from the prudent macro-fiscal policies and the resultant turnaround of the economy amidst unprecedented welfare-oriented interventions under the Flagship program have been fully tested by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic since March 2020. Mr. Speaker, this pandemic continues to devastate countries, disrupt productivity, threaten food security, multiply job losses, and reduce incomes, particularly in the poorest, as well as traumatic loss of lives. This year, the world is on course to experiencing the deepest global economic contraction in the post-war era, causing investments and trade to plunge. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian economy has also faced the health and economic consequences of this pandemic, which threatens lives and livelihoods. By God's grace, COVID-19 has so far not been as deadly due to our President's leadership. Thus, our preoccupation has been on addressing the socioeconomic dislocations occasioned by this pandemic. We have moved swiftly, Mr. Speaker, to mitigate the threats to lives and livelihoods of our fellow Ghanaians. By one, implementing the 1.342 million COVID-19 emergency preparedness and response plan to protect lives, operationalizing the 1.2 billion coronavirus alleviation program to support businesses, launching a 2 billion guarantee scheme to enable SMEs borrow at more affordable rates, supporting the 3 billion credit and stimulus package by commercial banks in Ghana to revitalize industries, especially pharmaceutical, hospitality services, and the manufacturing sectors.
Honorable Mr. Just a moment, please. Honorable members, in view of the time and in view of the business ahead of us, I direct that our business proceeds beyond the prescribed hours. Thank you. Honorable Minister, you may please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, leadership is best tested in times of crisis, whether it is to do with the crisis of Dumso, the crisis of homegrown economic mismanagement, or the imported crisis of a global pandemic like the novel coronavirus. It is when crisis hits, Mr. Speaker, that the people see and feel who a real leader is and who is not. Earlier in March, President Akufo-Addo told the nation, "We know how to bring the economy back to life. What we do not know is how to bring people back to life. We will therefore protect people's lives, then their livelihoods." Mr. Speaker, those words were truly profound and true to his character. The President has put his leadership skills just where his mouth is. Government set out to protect people's lives and then their livelihoods as well. The whole world, and more importantly, the vast majority of Ghanaians know that the President and his team have managed the COVID-19 crisis far better than most countries in the world. Indeed, our efforts have been adjudged as among the best 3 in the world. Mr. Speaker, the robustness of our macroeconomic fundamentals and the efficacy of government's COVID mitigation measures have been borne out by recent indicators. According to the Bank of Ghana's survey in August 2020, consumer confidence is bouncing back strongly and is currently above pre-COVID-19 lockdown levels. Business confidence has also increased, although below pre-lockdown levels. About 95% of businesses surveyed showed strong optimism, reflecting the improving macroeconomic conditions, stability in the exchange rate, lower input prices, moderation in lending rates, and positive industry prospects. Accordingly, the projected GDP growth rate 2020 reported in July has been revised from 0.9% to 1.9% to reflect these dynamics. As the Bank of Ghana stated, the green shoot of rebound in economic activity are clearly with us. We must be thankful to God for these encouraging developments. This and other assessments provoke a degree of optimism and reveals that the swift, bold, and effective measures implemented by government have been key in quickening the pace of economic recovery. This is the competent leadership we promised under President Akufo-Addo. Indeed, the President's decisive and compassionate leadership in these challenging times have been internationally acknowledged and has added to our reputation as the Black Star of Africa. Mr. Speaker, our efforts to protect lives and preserve livelihoods, coupled with the impact of the pandemic on revenues and expenditures, resulted in fiscal deficit of 11.4% of GDP. As already indicated in the presentation to this August House in July, we have a well-thought-out Ghana Cares over Atampa plan and strategy to return this economy to a more sustainable fiscal path in the medium term. Mr. Speaker, the 2020 fiscal framework, which increased the fiscal deficit from 4.7% of GDP to 11.4% in the 2020 mid-year review. The fiscal operations of the economy for the January to September 2020 period show that on provisional basis, both revenues and expenditures exceeded their respective targets, resulting in the fiscal deficit of 9% of GDP against a program deficit of 8.9% of GDP. Total expenditures, including arrears clearance, on the other hand, amounted to 71.3 billion against a target of 70 billion Ghana cedis, showing a deviation of 1.3 billion Ghana cedis or 1.8% from target. The overall fiscal deficit resulting from the revenues and expenditure performance for the period through September 2020 is Ghana 34.6 billion cedis or 9% of GDP against a target of 34.3 billion Ghana cedis or 8.9% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance was a deficit of 15.7 billion Ghana cedis or 4.1% of GDP against a target of 15.4 billion or 4% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, this means that we can now approach the next financial year with increased optimism, largely because we already have a plan and, may I say, a track record. We expect growth to rebound strongly in 2021 at 5.7% as a result of our implementation of the transformation and revitalization phase of the Ghana Cares over Atampa program. In addition, we have also scaled down the projected 2021 fiscal deficit from 9.6% of GDP as reported in the mid-year review to 8.3% of GDP, reflecting the improved revenues from the anticipated pickup of economic activities and a more rationalized public expenditure program. With this path, we expect a return to the fiscal responsibility threshold of 5% of GDP fiscal deficit and a positive primary balance earlier than the 2024 fiscal year previously announced. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this House that we will recover, we will revitalize, and we will transform the economy. We shall pivot off of the AFCFTA headquarters in Accra for Ghana to become a dynamic regional hub. We have planted the seeds for a fast-paced and more inclusive recovery, recognizing that the role of capital and credit, we are certain that the cleaned up and revitalized financial sector will support our recovery efforts and sustain growth. Mr. Speaker, let me give you a glimpse of our new strengthened financial ecosystem, which will facilitate credit and investment to the private sector. We have established the Ghana Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, GESL, to facilitate lending to the agricultural sector. The Ghana Amalgamated Trusts, GAT, to support indigenous participation in the banking sector. The Ghana Commodity Exchange, to modernize agricultural transactions and provide security for our farmers. The Ghana Deposit Scheme, to protect depositors' funds. The National Housing and Mortgage Finance Scheme, to provide mortgages to our working class and middle class citizens. the 2 billion CD credit guarantee scheme to support large businesses, and the CAPBA scheme run by MBSSI to support micro and small and medium enterprises, amongst others, in order to sustain and complement these reforms. Mr. Speaker, we have also established a new National Development Bank, which already has commitments of over $500 million as a wholesale bank to further support these financial institutions. Mr. Speaker, we will see significant investment in infrastructure, especially affordable housing. These interventions will create more jobs and enhance artisanal skills. A few days ago, my colleague, Honorable Attache, and I joined His Excellency President Akufo-Addo to commission 204 new houses at Tema Community 2. These houses were largely constructed and supervised by local contractors and consultants under the National Mortgage and Housing Fund scheme. This project was completed in 9 months amidst COVID-19 pandemic and created over 1,500 jobs. We will replicate this housing model across the country and alongside Agenda 111 District Hospitals program. Mr. Speaker, we expect that our digitalization program in the public sector will improve efficiency and enhance delivery of service. Government introduced a digital addressing system and the National ID program to ensure that all Ghanaians and their dwellings, as well as business locations, are uniquely identified. All these efforts have been made to formalize the economy and improve our global competitiveness. Mr. Speaker, as I indicated earlier in March 2017, I stood here and asked this august House to support this administration turnaround the economy with a paucity of resources that we inherited, as in the story of the 5 fish, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Mr. Speaker, I'm in awe of what God has done in the last 4 years. Not only have we accomplished the miraculous economic turnaround, we have also gathered our 12 baskets left over to begin the implementation of our Ghana 100 billion Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Let me assure you, Mr. Speaker, that he who began the good work of us will carry it on to completion. Ghana is at a breakthrough moment. Our Baal Perazim is upon us. But Mr. Speaker, we must as a nation be prepared to work hard, to burden share, and to sacrifice for the national good, and to desist from difficult negotiations at such times of a global pandemic. I am confident that the Lord will repay us for the years the locust has eaten and pour us His Spirit on all of us. Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure the House that despite the setbacks from the pandemic, we are on track to recover. We have made adequate budgetary provision to ensure that the elections are conducted in a safe and secure environment. Government has also instituted various security measures to ensure we have peaceful elections and effectively contain all threats. Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of the 2021 expenditure in advance of appropriation, we projected the 2021 first quarter total revenue and grants of 13.3 billion, while total expenditures, including the clearance of arrears, is projected at 24 billion. The results in the projected fiscal deficit of 10.7 billion for the period. Mr. Speaker, to support the 2021 budget and liability management, we plan to source funding from the international capital markets. This will comprise the issuance of sovereign bonds of $3 billion, with the option to increase it to $5 billion should market conditions prove favorable. Out of the amount to be raised, 1.5 billion will be used to support the 2021 budget and 3.5 billion for liability management. Mr. Speaker, we will require an amount of 27.4 billion to carry on the services of government until the expiration of 3 months from the beginning of the 2021 financial year. The total amount is to cover government operations such as compensation of employees, ex gratia awards, interest and amortization, transfer to statutory funds, critical programs and goods and services, and CAPEX allocations of MDAs. Mr. Speaker, the programs include work on the Agenda 111 district and regional hospitals, which commenced in 2020 to ensure health facilities are available in all deprived places. Currently, 88 site plans have been submitted by the district assemblies, and contractors and consultants are being procured. The rehabilitation of Efia Nkwanta and Accra psychiatric hospitals and the construction of the 2 psychiatric hospitals in Kumasi and Tamale would also be fast-tracked. Funds have also been provided to facilitate the reopening of schools in the early part of 2021. If we continue to keep the spread of new infections of the COVID-19 virus at its current low levels. In furtherance of government's TVET agenda, next year will witness the start of the Jobs and Skills Project to support apprenticeships and competency-based training curriculum development in over 100 trade areas and entrepreneurships. Also, we'll see the beginning of construction of our flagship state-of-the-art TVET centers, 2 per region, fully equipped with modern training facilities in 33 trades professions across 11 economic sectors. Mr. Speaker, the details of the expenditure are as follows: compensation of employees, 7.7 billion Ghana cedis, use of goods and services, 1.6 billion Ghana cedis, interest payments, 7 billion Ghana cedis, subsidies, 259 million Ghana cedis, grants to other government units, 4.3 billion Ghana cedis, social benefits, 41 million Ghana cedis, other expenditure, 813 million Ghana cedis, capex, 1.9 billion Ghana cedis, making a total expenditure of 23.665 billion Ghana cedis. Arrears clearance of 350 million Ghana cedis, amortization of 3.42 billion Ghana cedis. Total appropriation, Mr. Speaker, 27,434,180,520 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this expenditure in advance of appropriation form part of the projected revenue expenditure estimates and financing for 2021 attached as Appendix 1A to 1C. The breakdown of allocations to MDAs for January to March 2021 are also attached as Appendix 2A to 2D. Mr. Speaker, the Comptroller and Accountant General will ensure that all ministries, departments, and agencies operate strictly within the levels set in the expenditure in advance of appropriation to be approved by this august House. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance will submit a more detailed 2021 budget statement and economic policy of government to this august House by March 2021. Mr. Speaker, we are confident that because of God's guidance and support, the President's leadership, and our performance, Ghanaians will return the MPP government to power for 4 more years for Nana to do even more, and also to continue with our economic revitalization and transformation program, to improve the quality of livelihood for our citizens who are, in the end, the people who matter. Every decision or program that we have is to ensure that our people who matter benefit from this. We should recap the dividends from this transparent government in a democratic governance that the MPP has been able to implement. Mr. Speaker, specifically, we will continue to implement measures that will result in significant improvements in business regulations and their implementation. Digitization to improve quality and transparency of public service delivery, expanding access to finance for Ghanaian businesses, skills training, and energy sector reform when Ghanaians give us another mandate to ensure that Ghana goes beyond aid. Mr. Speaker, I feel truly blessed and have such gratitude to God for the opportunity to have been here in these past 4 years to work for President Akufo-Addo and to present the President's remarkable, destiny-changing, economic regenerating, institutional renewing policies and programs. And I'm thankful particularly for the help and support I have received from this august House. Together with this Parliament, the Ministry of Finance alone has passed more than 50 bills into law in the last 4 years, and I and all of the team at the Ministry of Finance humbly thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, for this opportunity. Let me, Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of the Nkosua Nkabom budget of 2020, leave us with Psalm 133, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity, for then the hand bestows his blessings. We are a chosen people, Mr. Speaker. We perceive what he is doing, and we must be obedient to his call and be joyful and grateful for the battle continues to remain the Lord's. Right Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I humbly request this august House to, by a resolution, approve an amount of 24,434,180,520 cedis as expenditure in advance of appropriation to carry on the services of government until the expiration of 3 months from the beginning of the 2021 financial year. We also request approval for the issuance of sovereign bonds of US $3 billion with the option to increase it to $5 billion should market conditions prove favorable. Mr. Speaker, I so move, and I accordingly present the papers to the House.
Yeah.